loud thing going on around here.
Hello, wonderful internet people, and welcome back to the Road to Rawlock livestream. We didn't do this last week, 2 weeks. I'm not sure. The music is once again too loud. Can you folks hear me? No, of course not. No, of course not. Of course you can't hear me because Connor always screws up the transition, and when he's not screwing up the transition, he's screwing up the external microphone. I made a point of going and clicking on it too. I'm not sure why it didn't go. That music is once again too loud. So let me fix that. Man, it's like 2%. It's so loud. Maybe the problem is, well, no, it's not really there. Cause, sorry, it's like picking up the... I'm on a Mac. Then Streamlabs is weird about Mac. So it's picking up the audio off my desktop, kind of. It's very weird. At any rate, I fixed the music because I'm amazing. I'm very bad at this. But so we are here once again with the Road to Rawlock livestream. We are very excited to be counting down the days to Rawlock's Guide to Violence, which we will be launching October 15th. As you may or may not know, because we've not exactly given a date, not officially. We said maybe, sort of, kind of. We are assuredly, definitely, absolutely launching this October 15th, done unless something crazy happens. And crazy things have happened in the past, but that's okay. But for right now, moving forward, I am going to assume that October 15th, we are launching this. So mark your calendars. Get ready, because we are coming at you with a brand new Kickstarter, a brand new book, and to begin the celebrations as we are closing in on that date. It's a little more than a month away now. We are giving away a Gem Hammer Grimoire today. Gem Hammer Grimoire, for those of you who don't know, that don't love this book already, this is our last Kickstarter project. This is our big book of magic, you might say, and Rawlock's Guide is going to be our big book of martial, punchy swords, armor, etc. If this is our book of sorcery, then that is going to be our book of swords. So Rawlock's Guide to Violence. It's coming soon, October 15th. Mark your calendars. Get super excited and type Rawlock in the chat to be entered to win that very book I just described, the Gemhammer Grimoire. And I've lost Nightbot. That's good. I'm so bad at this. Why do I keep doing? I just need to have Joe do it. Is what needs to happen. I need to be like, hey Joe, can you take over the live streaming stuff? Because or can someone like be in the background fixing this for me? Because I've demonstrated that I'm not particularly great at this. I genuinely can't find Nightbot now, so that I can control the very contest that I'm trying to. Oh, here it is. Found it. Great. So, found Nightbot. Everything's great. Type Rawlock. In case you don't know how it's spelled, it's there on the screen and it's there in the chat. So if you are as excited as we are, type Rawlock in the chat. Be entered to win your very own Gemhammer Grimoire, our big book of magic, and let's get ready for our big book of violent martial combat stuff. And in previous Road to Rawlock live streams, we've talked about the pledge levels and the contents of the book, and we've even gone through the whole table of contents. This time we're going to talk about stretch goals. I'm going to share with you guys our list of the stretch goals, which we only just recently put a sort of final stamp on, although I'm actually not going to share all of them with you. Some of them I'm going to hold back. Which I need to make a slight adjustment on the image I was about to share with you folks, so bear with me for just a moment. There's something I'm holding back because I want to surprise people with it when the Kickstarter is a little bit closer. I also want the people involved with that cool new thing to be part of that exciting announcement. So I'm gonna just put a big ol' black box over that, and that should solve some of that. There we go. So now that I've done stuff I probably should have done before I started the stream, we can get going. But that's not all we're talking about today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the stretch goals, but we are also going to talk about GenCon, because the reason we didn't stream the last week or two, last month has been an absolute blur for us. This isn't Joe and I's full-time jobs, or it is a full-time responsibility, but we have other things going on as well. I'm in grad school. Joe works full-time. I have a kid. Joe runs Boy Scout troop. I don't know. We've got other things going on in our lives. We are extraordinarily busy people. It's amazing that we have time to do this, and then still have functioning social lives on any level. So we are very excited to be launching this next project and continuing with Gemhammer, because we want this to be our regular full-time jobs and this to be what we're doing with our lives. And we are very excited to share the stretch goals with you, but also some news on our Patreon, which I'm not going to get super deep into because this is really about Rawlock, but then also GenCon. And that's what's been chewing up a lot of our time, because as those of you who don't know, GenCon is in just a couple weeks now. It's the 16th through the 20th in Indiana. So if you're in the area, you should go there. And if you're going, let us know and come visit us and say, hey, Conor and Joe, I like your stuff and I want to buy all of it and hand you tons of money. You know, like you do. We're gonna be getting ready to launch this Kickstarter at the same time, and there's a whole lot going on. We've got some more conventions coming down the pipe. We are lined up for PAX Unplugged as well. I'm still waiting to hear back about PAX East because we're from Boston, so that's right around the corner for us. It's we don't have to worry about shipping a big road case of all of our stuff in our booth. We just roll it into the back of a truck and drive over there and go, no, we're gonna just head on in. Thank you, but we are not gonna pay for the service of shipping. We'll just do it. So that's gonna be great if and when that happens. Still waiting to hear back about that. But for right now, GenCon and PAX Unplugged are kind of the big things that we're looking at, and that's exciting. We are super pumped to be participating in those shows because we haven't done any shows since PAX East of 2020, so March of 2 years ago. So we're ready. We're ready to get out. We're ready to do stuff. Since I'm already talking about the conventions, I'm just going to share with you, you know, if you're going to be at GenCon, this is where you can find us. Booth 1239. It is a humble 10 by 10, but just wait till you see our booth and all the wacky things we've done with it in the interim that we've been sitting around not doing conventions. The booth is great. We got some awesome wooden shelves behind us, new banners, all new stock, mostly dice. A lot of new dice stuff. And if you're interested, you can head over to our website, shop.gemhammer.com, and you can pre-order some of that new stuff. We're going to have some advanced stock with us for GenCon. So if you're there, you can buy that dice in person. And if you're not there, then, you can pre-order it now, and it will ship probably a few weeks after GenCon, depending on how some shipping stuff lands. But either way, it'll definitely be before Christmas. I can say that with confidence. Confidence? Yeah, I'm pretty confident about that. Yeah, it'll definitely ship before Christmas. Either way, if you're not interested in our dice stuff and you just want to know about our next Kickstarter project, like was what we were supposed to be talking about, we are gonna... I'm gonna hang on that image for just a moment because for some reason the image changed, and I need to adjust it in Streamlabs because I'm so good at streaming. Gosh, I'm so good at streaming. I am the stream guy who does the streams and then inevitably screws them up. But okay, here we are, transitioning over to our big old list of stretch goals. No, really? I can see it here on mine. Why is it not there? Okay, whatever. It just appears. I need to get a producer. Anyway. It's just not there. It doesn't make sense, and then boom, there it is. Okay. So anyway, stretch goals. These are the things that are not necessarily part of the core book, but we would like them to be. But the base form of the book is probably about half of the size that we want it to be. Aside from stretch goals, you can divine from this list that $1,500 is what our goal is for the Kickstarter. At $1,500, the project's funded. We're going to make the book that we've advertised. We're going to make the book that we want to make. It is not going to have the full suite of features that I would personally want in the book, but given what we can afford to do and given that we want to be making this book, that's like the base model of the book, $1,500. It's going to be good. You're still going to get lots of new classes. You're still going to get lots of new stuff. There's going to be a new class and subclass for our new ones and for old favorites straight out of your vanilla D&D. But we're going to add all new stuff to it as we chug along. So that's what our stretch goals are going to be. We start out $1,500. Boom, we're funded. We're ready to go. And hold on one second. So $1,500, we're backed. We got it. We're funded. $1,550. 5 new backgrounds. That's it. All we need is $50 more. Those are probably going to get knocked out together, and that's fine. We're excited. We've got a whole list of backgrounds, and you're probably like, "Why does it matter?" This is we want to be rewarding early on because that's how Kickstarter works. So some of these, they're small things in the beginning, but we want to incentivize people. We want people to feel encouraged that we're doing well and more value is being added to the book. So we front-loaded some things to help move that process along, just in the interest of full transparency. But we've got new backgrounds on the way. Then, it's, 1750, trinkets and baubles of Rolocalypse. So we're trinkets and baubles, where we're adding stuff from the planes of Rolocalypse. And for those of you who don't know, Rolocalypse is the demi-plane that Rolock lives on. So things from that setting, so to speak, are going to be, we're going to have a table of them. So it'll start off at 10. Yeah, so we'll start with 10. And as we go along, we'll add more to that table. 2 new weapon materials. We've talked a little bit about weapon materials here in the past. So weapon materials are exactly what they sound like. And I shouldn't call them weapon materials on here. Like, this isn't final art. This is what we were playing around with when we were trying to make the final decisions. So they should really just be like exotic materials, or I'll come up with a better name than weapon materials, because I've been calling them weapon materials, but we also have rules for how you make armor out of them, so they're not really... Crafting materials is probably the right word, but... Yeah, crafting materials is probably the right word, so that's probably what they'll be in the final version of this, but the 2 new weapon materials are going to be, for this point in the Kickstarter, are going to be Warpwood and Lightning Glass weapons and armor. You're probably like, ooh, what do those do? Well, you'll have to wait and find out. When we unlock that stretch goal, we'll have a whole little write-up about what Warpwood is, what it does, and what Lightning Glass is, and what it does, and where it comes from in our world. And there's going to be a whole lot of these, and so there'll be some upfront cost in addition to the cost of a magic item, or a mundane item even. Like even, a regular short sword made out of these materials, as we've talked about previously. Warpwood has some innate quality. You think about silver weapons in vanilla D&D 5e. These are weapons that have innate quality, but you could just go buy it's like a silver short sword isn't a magic item with its own stat block. This is a short sword made out of silver, and this is what's the silver property gives you. This is what that material property is. So these are going to be similar in that respect. That Warpwood has its own material property and Lightning Glass has its own material property. So moving on from there, at 2250, you get 5 more backgrounds. I know it's not the most... This music is so on brand for this, but I am still gonna do what I almost always do, and that's kick it over to like something lo-fi, because it's like... I just want to, and while it's exciting, I'm trying to I ADD and so changeable and distractible, and I'm just like, drums, awesome, what, over here, and I mean, this probably won't help with the distraction part, because there's lots of things happening on both of these screens, but it's still very loud, and I just want something a little more chill, It's funny, when I'm driving around, I like to listen to metal, not lo-fi stuff. But when I'm here just talking, I actually prefer this to do this, So I apologize in advance if you were enjoying the Viking guitar, who are very great. I'm enjoying this stuff, but now I'm also trying to talk. New backgrounds. So 5 more backgrounds. I think the main book has 20 backgrounds to start. 10 backgrounds. 10 backgrounds will start, and then we add 5 with each of these. So at 2500, Digby's Diary on the Divine. Now, this is not an expansion of the core book. We have a few of these in here. Digby's Diary on the Divine is a standalone 32-page add-on. We will have some add-ons for this. We talked about this a little bit before when we talked about add-ons, but we weren't sure because of how shipping works if we could offer everything that we sell in the Kickstarter, even though people have asked us that. We were on Band of Badgers live stream recently, and one of the bigger questions in the chat was can I order all your stuff in the Kickstarter? For us, that shipping cost is prohibitive, but for our customers, that is a great shipping cost because, like especially overseas in the UK, getting all that stuff in one box as opposed to some smaller boxes, like, especially if they plan on backing the Kickstarter, like they've already got a box coming their way. So we have made the decision to add all of our stuff, or a lot of our stuff, I should say. None of our dice stuff is going to be on there to start, but all of our decks and cards, the grimoire, obviously. In fact, there's going to be pledge levels with the grimoire just built in. Your sword and sorcery pledge levels are going to have that in there. We're gonna add everything in there, so people that don't have a lot of our stuff but want to and don't want to be paying separate shipping costs, those add-ons are going to be in there. And so that also kind of made us go, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's add in a lot of add-on. Not a lot, but let's add in some add-on material, and let's add our stuff in there. Let's take the risk. We think it's going to be worth it. We think you folks are going to, benefit from that. So let's give it a shot. So with that in mind, Digby's Diary on the Divine. Rawlock, god of violence, is a god in our campaign setting, our loosely defined campaign setting that we are very slowly making content for. Rawlock is a god of violence. He's not part of the main pantheon. Some of those gods are outlined here in the grimoire, but we are going to, both in the grimoire and both in Rawlock's and in Digby's Diary on the Divine, kind of like establish main pantheons and sub-pantheons and things like that, to help kind of illustrate. So if you have interest in weird new gods and or us fleshing out our gods, this add-on will be valuable to you, but it'll also be valuable because there's going to be some cool artifacts in there. Some cool divine artifacts that are not going to be in the grimoire. I keep doing this, in the grimoire. That are not going to be in Rawlock's Guide to Violence, because Rawlock's Guide to Violence is more about violence, and these more spellcastery items, or these items that help buff your party, or are just like... I'm not quite sure I'm describing it well. These things that I don't think thematically belong here, especially since they're attributed to another god. This is Rawlock's book. Our other gods don't get to have cool artifacts in here because it's not their book, it's his book. In fact, we have one magic item in here that we had some trouble whether or not we wanted to include it, and a big part of that was, it's like, so Rawlock, part of why he became a god in the story, that you will learn as you read Rawlock's Guide to Violence, is he killed the god of war to become the god of violence. He didn't become the god of war. There's already a god of war. Or there was an evil god of war, and there was a good god of war, and he kind of supplanted the evil god of war, but didn't become a god of war, became a god of violence. So this ancient forgotten god, 10 points to whoever understands the references we make when we make them, which you have no idea what that means, but a couple people do, and I think they'll appreciate it. So this weapon that we're putting in here is a wink and a nod to that god that was deposed by Rawlock, and that's the only reason that it's getting even a call out in this book, because it's still about Rawlock. So again, this is Rawlock's book. So Digby's Diary on the Divine at $2,500. That's our book where we talk about other gods and their cool stuff. It's going to be a simple 32-pager. Do I have one of ours? So it's going to be around the same size as our... And for those of you familiar with buying 32 pages back in the day from Paizo or Wizards, it's going to be the same quality, same type of thing you're used to. And for those of you who have our Kingdom of Owlbears, this is roughly what we're talking about. Full color, 32 pages. That's where we're going with it. So, Digby's Diary on the Divine, cool new stuff about other gods that are not Rawlock. And that'll be an add-on. $27.50, Trinkets and Baubles 2. So, more trinkets, 10 more Trinkets and Baubles. And you're like, well, how many Trinkets and Baubles? Well, remember, we started at 10, we added 10, so now we're at 30. A table of 30 baubles, trinkets and baubles from the Plains of Rollocalypse that your players can roll on when you want to give them trinkets, or when there's something in the goblin's pocket and you want to give them something cool. And then at 3,000, more crafting materials. Yeah. Prism shade and magnetite weapons. It shouldn't be weapons. Magnetite, prism shade, and magnetite. Magnetite is super cool. I'm very excited about this one. This one I don't mind talking about. So magnetite it's magnetic. It's like magnetic material. You know, it's like you can make a suit of armor out of it. That's going to give you some resistance. I'm sorry, that's going to give you some benefits I don't want to talk about here because we're going to have like an update about these things as they become available. But Prism Shade is also pretty cool. I'm actually really excited about Prism Shade as well because the Prism Shade has to do with the demi-plane of the Rainbow Dark, which I am slipping some stuff for the Rainbow Dark in here because I love the idea of the Rainbow Dark, even though we haven't done a lot with it. There's some stuff in the Grimoire about it, but we're going to have a little bit of stuff in here about it too, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to do a big thing about the Rainbow Dark, because I like it. I have all these ideas for it, I just haven't had the opportunity to really put it to paper and then sell it to you wonderful internet people. So, Prism Shade and Magnetite ore happens at 3,000. 3,500, we get 5 new backgrounds. So we started off at 10. We are now at 25 backgrounds. It's pretty good, you know. And so our backgrounds we're gonna have some interesting components to that. We're gonna have some proficiencies unique to our book, unique to things that are unique in our book. Is a bad way to say that, but I did anyway. But we suddenly, at $4,000, get off of the idea of trinkets and baubles and get onto some uncommon magic items. And I know uncommon magic items aren't the most exciting thing in the world, but it's more magic items. And they're going to have some cool flavor, very cool flavor. For those of you who want the kind of theme that we're going with for Orlux, which is that stereotypical 80s metal side of the van from Onward theme, your Conan the Barbarian, your heavy metal magazine sort of imagery. These uncommon magic items are going to be able to, add some cool flavor for your players, and I think people are going to really like it. At 4,500, 2 new weapon materials. I keep doing this. Well, it's because it's what they're called on here. 4,000. Oh, sorry. No, I skipped ahead. So at 4,000, it's not materials. Uncommon. No, yeah. 4,000 was uncommon artifacts. Do these match? Yes, they do. Okay, sorry. I looked down a column because I'm reading off of a spreadsheet that has more information than what you're seeing in the image that I'm sharing with you. So sorry. Our uncommon magic items at 4,000. Then we have more of those crafting materials that manacite and anti-manacite weapons. No, you're probably like like manacite. So we had mana sites. Sites in which there was a abundance of mana in the Grimoire, and as a call out to that, we have manacite, as in CITE. It is a material from which magically infused and anti-magic infused weapons might be crafted. And so those are going to be pretty cool. Though I've kind of given away what they are, and that's all right. So now we get to our next add-on at 5,000. I'm just going to scroll down here so you get to see. Oh, 10,000 is blacked out. Why? We'll get there. Barnaby's Book of Barbarism. This is going to be great. I'm very excited for this. I'm not going to tell you anything about this book. In fact, I'm not going to tell you anything about any of the add-on books anymore. Sorry. Because I am delighted by what these add-on books are from here on forward, and I can't wait for people to roll their eyes at me when these books become available. It's going to be really cool. You're going to love it. At $5,000, Barnaby's Book of Barbarism will become available. And then $500 later, 2 more weapon materials. I'm just going to start calling them that. I'm going to keep going. I'll fix it later, but for right now, they're weapon materials. More crafting materials. I'm not going to say what these ones are just yet. More materials. more cool materials, more materials with inherent properties that your players, and that's another when we talked about materials previously. Um, it's a silly number of magic items that you end up with as a result of the new weapon types that we're adding in this book, and then you combine that with the number of materials we're adding in this book, which are independent of magic items with their own stat blocks. So if you want more cool weapons and armor and gear for your players, well, we got it. It's all here. Between crafting stuff and finding stuff and pre-established magic items and artifacts, etc., it's here. It's here, and you want it. I know you do, because I want it in my game, which is why I'm making it. Where did we leave off? 5,500, I believe. Yes, we did. Now we get into primal weapons and armor. And you're probably, well, what are that? So this is a new class of weapon. This, you have your martial weapons, of course, and you have your oh my god, martial and simple. Thank you. Oh my god, I don't know who I'm thanking. No one said anything. It's just me. Simple weapons and martial weapons. Well, as you may or may not be aware, we're adding new types of weapons, new categories of weapons in this book, and primal weapons is one of them. And these are going to be weapons that are less advanced than they're probably on par with simple weapons, but they are less advanced technologically speaking. So, they're going to be weapons made out of obsidian and wood. No metal. No metal is involved in primal weapons. These are ancient, beyond ancient, Stone Age type weapons. And we'll have a whole sub-chapter about them and the people that use them, and maybe some cool stat blocks for creatures and things that use them, depending on how some of that shakes out. But primal weapons and armor, for those of if you get that druid that absolutely refuses to use metal because previous editions established that they don't, then this is the stuff you're going to want. Now we start to get into the bigger stuff. Pardon me. 2 new subclasses. So for all of our new classes and for all of the what we consider to be martial classes from vanilla D&D, we are giving you 1 new subclass. So we are adding new classes and then 1 new subclass for each of them. And we're giving you new subclasses for all the traditional martial classes. This is when we start to increase that number of subclasses. So for Brawler, our Brawler class, and for the Barbarian, we are adding a subclass at this point. So at 6,500, bam, Brawler Barbarian, you're getting more subclasses. Then we get into, at 7,000, Gwendolyn's Guide to Guerrillas. And so this is going to be about, well, your guerrilla combat, so to speak. So Gwendolyn's Guide to Guerrillas, this is another one of those add-on 32 pagers that we were talking about before. And again, not going to get too deep into these books because there's some cool stuff in them that obviously tangentially related to Rollick's Guide, but we felt they deserved their own add-on, and we think people are going to really enjoy them. They don't quite fit the theme of the larger book, but they're, again, related, and you're going to like it. Uncommon artifacts of Rollocalypse. Now we're getting to uncommon magic items. This is 10 more uncommon magic items. There's already going to be uncommon magic items in the book. We're just increasing it by 10. We're angling in on around 100 magic items. I forget exactly how those numbers scale because I don't have that spreadsheet in front of me. Like I don't remember where we start and then what these land on, but it's in the neighborhood of more than 100 magic items, not including the ones made from crafting materials. So we get 10 uncommon magic items, and then at 8,000, advanced weapons and armor. So before we were talking about primal weapons. Well, advanced is another class of weapon, and then exotic weapons is one that's just in the core book, so that's something that's already going to be in there. So at that point you'd be at 3 new classes of weapons and armor, and these are going to be more like the things you would find in D20 Modern of old. Um, your body armor and your guns, and we're not going to push them so far ahead that they wouldn't exist in your D&D world. We are thinking that we're going to try and not quite steampunky, but word them in a way that they could kind of land in either category. Your advanced technologically weapons. Your guns and electrified batons and things like that. Then after that, at 8,500, we get 2 more new subclasses: our duelist and the bard. And you're probably, bard's a spellcaster. Yeah, but no. It's like half and half. So we decided to split the difference, and so your duelist and your bard are both getting new subclasses at 8,500. Scroll down too far, but yep. And then at 9,000, advanced combat factions. Now these are going to come up a few times. Now we have ideas for rules for new different types of combat, and one of the things that we've played around with are factions that specialize in those types of combat. So what we intend to do, and we're actually going to let the community kind of decide this part, we are going to have advanced combat factions, and you are going to be able to unlock all 4 of them throughout the campaign. But we're going to let everyone else decide which ones they want in the book first. So, because I would like to see the Arden Grappling Federation, which is essentially pro wrestling. I'd like to see that faction in the book first. But maybe people want to see the Demolition Derby rules and how all that works in the book first. So, advanced combat factions. This is a sub-chapter in the book that connects to the new combat options and rules that we're adding. But we're going to let you folks decide which ones land there first. So, as I said, Arden Grappling Federation is one of them, but you'll learn more about them as we get closer to, and we start asking people, what do you want to see in the book first? So, 9,500 rare artifacts of Ralocalypse. These are 10 rare magic items. Very exciting. Now you have 10 additional magic items, and now we're into the rare category. At 10,000, we are going to have a really cool add-on here at 10,000, but I'm not going to say what it is just yet. This will be announced at a later date, so I'm just gonna move on. I want to be like, tease you about it and say subtle hinting things, but instead I'm just gonna move on. Ascendant artifacts happens at 10,500. So ascendant artifacts are a category of magic item. These are going to be artifacts that level with you. In previous editions of D&D have had this, where these are weapons that when you get them, they are not particularly exciting or powerful magical artifacts, but it's like a cool magic item to have. But as you level, it levels with you. So the longer you have it, the higher level you get, the cooler it becomes. So our process for designing these and our intention behind them is that these are things you would not mind giving your first level characters. First time out, they find a cool magic item. It's not that amazing, but it's a magic item, and that's exciting, especially for level 1 players or even new players to the game, or anyone, even veterans that played for a long time. Level 1, I got a magic item first time out? That's crazy. The DM's insane. Why would he do this? Because it's going to grow with you. And you're going to want to give these early because you're going to want to see how your player grows with them. And we're very excited by the prospect of that, and how we've put some of these together. So Ascendant Artifacts, 10,500. Sorry, I just got distracted by Discord popping up on my screen and being like, something. Anyway, 1,100. Our Magical Guardian and our Fighter get their subclasses. I don't need to keep explaining how subclasses work, but there you are with that at 1100. At 11500, Madrix's Manuscript of Muscles. So again, this is one of these add-on books, our 32 pagers that don't quite fit in Rawlocks, but we think are going to be a very cool, their own thing that people will want to buy, and I'm excited for them. I'm going to move on though. Now we get into very rare artifacts of Rawlocalypse, and now we're at 10 more very rare magic items, and then at 12,500, Weapons of Annihilation. You heard me correct. Weapons of Annihilation. You're probably like, what could that possibly... It's exactly what you're thinking. And I've talked about this briefly before in terms of the materials. Weapons of Annihilation. These are weapons that have the properties of a sphere of annihilation. So it is a crafting material. It is like the other crafting materials. But Weapons of Annihilation, it's so cool. And you're probably like, why would I give my players that? I don't know why you'd give your players it. But I would give their enemies at least one of these. Big bad evil guy's got a Weapon of Annihilation. Just cutting his way through an army. He is their great and mighty champion. That's where this belongs in your game. You're probably like, I would never give that to my players. I'm not telling you to give it to your players. I am telling you that in a world where this exists, it exists for both your players and their opponents. You know, the people that they might not want to be friends with could also have these weapons. Just something to consider. Weapons of Annihilation. It's going to be big. 2 new subclasses happen at 13,000. Pro Grappler and Monk both get their subclasses, and then we get another... oh, sorry, I didn't scroll down over here. Then we get our next Advanced Combat faction, which we will talk about those another day, beyond what I've already said. Vehicle Construction. If those have been following along with these Road to Rawlocks, then you know that we are going to have vehicular combat, and we have a whole class, the Road Warrior, dedicated to vehicles and more advanced options for vehicles. Vehicle construction, how to build vehicles, how to add things to vehicles, like vehicle modding, designing your own vehicle, like with it. Here's the core vehicle, and these are the things you can plug into it. That happens at 14,000. And so that'll be part of the vehicular combat chapter. It'll get its own little subsection. I keep bumping the mic. Sorry, this is a brand new mic. My old mic died a couple weeks ago, and so I had to get this one. And so it's actually they're both rigs, but the mic part here is just a little different than the other one. So I keep thinking it's like out here, like straight out and like slightly curved at the end, and it's not. So I like go to like scratch, and I just keep hitting the mic. Not that I was great about not hitting the mic before, but it's worse now. So, anyway, Pro Grappler and Monk was where I left off. Oh, yeah, then your combat faction, vehicle construction. Vehicle construction was where I left off. And then we get Road Warrior and Paladin. Those are getting new subclasses. So you're getting your vehicle construction, and then right after that, right after you get your vehicles, you're getting cool Road Warrior stuff. So you're getting a good chunk of your vehicle stuff together there. They're happening at the same time, and there might be a reason why they're happening at the same time. Legendary artifacts of Rawloccalypse. Now you get 10 more legendary magic items from the plains of Rawloccalypse. 2 more subclasses. Your Tactician and Rogue now get their additional subclasses. Big vehicle combat. More vehicular combat stuff, but these are huge and gargantuan vehicles. These are your Megazords. These are your tanks. Your huge vehicles that maybe are ancient artifacts from eons ago, from time before time, half buried deep in the ground. Giant statues that come to life with your players at the helm. special and rare is how we will describe them. Huge gargantuan vehicles. And then you get your next combat faction at 16,500. At 17,000, Squire and Ranger are going to get their subclasses. And then at 17,500, two Prestige classes. That's right, we are doing Prestige classes just like we did in the Grimoire. And the first Prestige classes that you get are going to be Sentai and Mech Pilot. Now, we struggled with Sentai and Mech Pilot for a while because at first we were kind of building them out to be the same class, and then we were also trying to like make them a class with two subclasses. And the more we played around with it, the more we decided, you know what? These are their own things. Like, so in our minds, you get your common rider as your Sentai. That like, yeah, he's got like a bike, but he's like, those Megazords aren't like the staple of that, So you can have Sentais that don't have giant robots. Mech pilots need to have giant robots. And so your Power Rangers obviously is like falling in between that. And since our Prestige classes are only ever 5 levels, there's not a reason in the world that your player that wants to build the Green Ranger cannot have 5 levels in Sentai, 5 levels in Mech Pilot, and be the Green Ranger that they always wanted to be, driving around in a robot dragon. So those Prestige classes come online just after, or a little bit after big vehicle combat. So you're getting your giant vehicles, and then you're getting the classes that specialize them a little bit later. Then we get into arcane firearms. And these are magical firearms, so it is more magic items in some cases, but also it's how to craft specialized bullets that have spells infused into them, and how their effects work. And also rules for like crafting these and also finding these in the world, how they might work in your world and how they work in our world. Oh, excuse me. Then you get your next at 18,500. You are then getting your next combat faction. More of those another day. Then at 19,000, two more Prestige classes. Your Devotee of Ralok and your Weapons Master. Those Prestige classes come online. Your Devotee of Ralok is... We have described it as a barbarian paladin warlock compressed, and that's what that is. It is, Ralok needs its own Prestige class, of course. It's his book. But we didn't want to leave Sentai and Mech Pilot, so we actually decided to put that after those, even though the Devotee of Ralok probably should happen first because it's Ralok's book, but we like big robots, so we switched them. Weapons Master, it's going to be a Prestige class all about the cool new weapon categories that we have added to this book, and how you can use them, and gaining proficiency and advantages when using those weapons. Cool advantages for swapping weapons on the fly, using multiple weapons in tandem, things like that. Magic item overload. An additional 5 magic items of each rarity, including 5 additional ascended artifacts, will happen at 19,500. And then we get 2 more Prestige classes. The Chivalrous and Fallen Knight happen at 20,000, and that completes our Prestige classes, I believe, at this point in the campaign. Now we are getting up into $20,000. So we are starting to spread things out a bit more than we were before. So complete training happens at 25,000. Complete training, and this is the list as it exists right now. We are prepared and have in mind some, at this point in the campaign, assuming we're hitting these steadily, smaller little stretch goals that may inject themselves in between these, but we will see. We'll judge this as it's happening, but complete training happens at 25,000. Complete training is... There are rules for when you're in downtime to gain not just proficiencies and things, but also whole feats. And you're probably like, that's broken. It isn't It isn't. I shouldn't have said it is. I'm locked in now. I'm in trouble. Anyway, it's not. They're going to need to go on special quests. They're going to need to go do special things. And you know what? If your players are going on these quests, these journeys, these side missions to gain these boons, these feats, these additional abilities, they'll have earned it. Are they going to be a little stronger? Potentially. But we think that like if these are going to be more like capstone type things, that it's like they're going to need to receive a lot of training. They're going to need to invest a lot into to be able to do them. So complete training. This is a downtime activity that with a lot of player investment is going to allow them to get a cool boon, a cool ability outside the normal means of their player progression. Divine Ascension. Now, in the Gemhammer Grimoire, we talk about how spells above 9th level happen. And we also talk a bit about how a player can become divine, immortal. But that's like from the perspective of a spellcaster. This is this is a book about a being that became a god, deposing another god. It rose to god. It was a mortal being that grew up, had a life, deposed a god, ascended to godhood. So naturally, we want to have rules for how a mortal being does that precisely in the book about a being that did just that. So, $30,000, you're going to get our take on how Divine Ascension works. Could work for 5e if you so wanted that to happen in your game. And then at $35,000, we're going to add 10 new pieces of art to the Grimoire. These are going to be, you're probably like, well, okay, additional art. Yeah, but these are going to be like big full-page pieces of artwork that we, in addition to the artwork that's already, like if you're familiar with the Grimoire, you know how much art we put in this thing. These are going to be more like chapter headings. Art is expensive. I don't know if you know this. Art is very expensive. $40,000. Modular weapons. These are going to be rules for adding modular pieces to your guns, but also your other weapons and armor, your vehicles potentially. Although we have vehicle construction as well, so those kind of work in tandem a bit. Then at 45,000, ships of the line. We do a lot with vehicles, but we don't do as much with the big sailing ships. So having more stuff about ships and how ship combat could work, we think that's important to include. But it wasn't as core as the earlier things, so it got moved down here. $50,000. Adventures in Rollocalypse. Oh my gosh, I haven't been. Oh no, yes. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Adventures in Rollocalypse at $50,000. That is where we are going to have an entire new chapter added. A lot of these other ones are not their own chapters; they're sub-chapters in pre-existing ones. Adventures in Rollocalypse. Right at the very end, there's going to be a whole new chapter, and we're now going to treat the plane of Rollocalypse as a campaign setting, as a demi-plane you might go to, and we are going to give you all the rules for how things work in Rollocalypse. Who are some of the people? Here's a map of the plane of Rollocalypse. Who are the people in each area that the NPCs you may interact with? They're going to give you stat blocks on those creatures and things. So we hit $50,000. This book is going to make this book look small. We're going to add a whole third of this book onto it with stuff about welcome to the demi-plane of Rollocalypse. Now, you probably have $50,000 is where it stops. It's not where it stops. I have another list this long, all the way up to 100,000 in this spreadsheet. We're going to leave it there for now because I've been talking for almost an hour. But also, we're going to leave it there for now because we want to see where this goes. We are excited to do this. We've never done a Kickstarter as big as $50,000. I'm ready to. I think that people are going to love this stuff. I think people are going to see what we're doing, and they're going to get a bigger explanation of some of the concepts here, and they're going to love it, and I think we're going to do great. I think that $50,000 is very attainable for this Kickstarter. And I think that when people see what it is, and this Kickstarter gets moving and rolling, I think people are going to fall in love with it. And I think this is going to do absolutely great guns. Pun intended, because it's guns in the book. I know, you hate me. You're like, that wasn't even a good pun. What's wrong with you? Lots of things. Don't worry about it. But $50,000, very attainable. I'm very excited to be doing this Kickstarter. I think it's going to be very successful. I think it's going to be our best Kickstarter. I am very eager to get it out there, but there's a lot of work to do. For example, we talked in the past about potential virtual tabletops. We've been talking to Roll20 and a few others. Roll20, we already have some stuff up on their website, or their marketplace, so it's no surprise that we would be trying to put this up there. We are presently in the process. This is not my full-time job. It is what I do full-time, but I don't get paid full-time to do this, and I have other responsibilities. I'm in grad school, as I've mentioned in the past, and I have other things that I do. But it is a lot of work to take this book and convert it into something that could be a compendium on Roll20. So that has taken a lot longer than I anticipated it taking. So we are practicing for Rawlocks with this right now, putting that together for Roll20, and hopefully in the next couple weeks, maybe a bit longer, end of September, because I immediately remembered that we're going to GenCon after I said that. Hopefully I'll have that finished up, and I can send it off to Roll20 and they can look at it. And of course, everyone has their own system. Jamhammer's a team of 3 people, so the idea that we're going to have a different virtual tabletop version of this for each of these different platforms is possible, but difficult. So we've been talking to a few other platforms, but for every one that we add, that is more that we need to convert. We would need to so I'm looking at potentially doing that for this, but we may need to bring on some extra help to make that possible. So maybe that inserts itself into this list as an add-on that, hey, now we can do, and that's what I was saying, we're going to kind of see how things go, and we're going to, I'm gesturing off camera at the list that you see over there. That's better. Anyway. So we're working on that. We're working on getting the Grimoire up from some virtual tabletop platforms. That's going to give us a better idea for how that's going to work for Rawlocks. So we've got a lot going on with that. Very excited to get this going. Why did I bring that up? There was like a point that I was driving to. I talked myself into a corner, and I'm in trouble now. I'm like, I was going somewhere with this. There was like a meat and potatoes. There was like a point to bringing up the virtual tabletop stuff. Anyway, I'm sure I'll remember after I'm listening to this later, and I heard that stuff I said a few minutes ago, and I'm like, oh, I'm dumb. Anyway, very excited about this stuff. As I've said 90,000 times now. Practicing on the Grimoire to get the virtual tabletop stuff in order. We're plugging away at these stretch goals. Like we already have stuff kind of lined up. As I've said before, I've already started doing the layout in the core version of the book. Yeah, it's going to be really cool. We're looking to bring in a couple more people to help us with some art. And as I had said before, there's some news about our Patreon. It's already 1:05, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. You're probably not going to hear from us this week because we're going to GenCon next week, and we get a lot to do to get ready for that. But you will probably get a video of us from GenCon. I don't know when. I don't think Thursday is a very good day to stream because of my new schedule with school, so I'm going to try and figure out how that works. But you'll definitely be hearing from us as we get closer to the Kickstarter. Yeah, and keep an eye out on social media. We're going to be posting that poll for the combat classes, the combat factions, so people can vote on kind of hear what the names of them are and kind of get interested and go, oh, what's that? And I want the wrestling league. I want that one, or I want the other. I already said the demolition derby. Oh no, I want the demolition derby. I want that. I want that information in the book. So. So it's a lot of work, and we're doing it, and very excited. But it's a lot, and we don't have a lot of time left because the Kickstarter is happening soon. So we're moving. So you're gonna hear a little less from us in terms of this. I know you didn't hear from us the last couple of weeks because we were so busy. Just like school started again and trying to get GenCon squared away was a whole thing. So we are gonna be away at the convention week after next, preparing for it next week, and then it's only a few weeks away to launching the Kickstarter. And I'm very confident it's gonna be our biggest Kickstarter yet. Very confident. You know, I think that the people that bought the grimoire in the past, they're going to want this book to go along with it. If you liked the grimoire, if you liked this, not loved it, I love it. I love it. If you liked this, you're going to love Rolox. Do I have the prototype? Yeah. Bam. I should have done this. If you liked this, you're going to love this. This is so much more is going in here, and I'm confident. You know, we hit 30,000 for the grimoire. At 30,000, you know, on this, we're at Divine Ascension. You know, 35. You know, it's not too far away from 50. You know, another 20,000. At that point, I think we could do it. Absolutely believe we can do it, and I am really looking forward to it. And also a little intimidated because just I have so much going on because I'm also finishing grad school this semester. So, but it's going to be great, and we're excited to be doing this with all you folks. We hope to see some of you at GenCon. If you have any questions, it's been pretty quiet in the chat, and even though we have 3 people still in chat, no one has, other than Odin, who is a moderator, signed up for the giveaway. So yeah, I will. We'll do that. Roll it, because we're gonna giving away a Jim Hammer grimoire. Pretzel. What? Why is what? No, Pretzel Rocks is. Oh, I see. I don't know why that happened. Pretzel Rocks. No, you haven't. You are a bot that plays music. There we go. Because he's the only one in there. I see you. Yeah. Anyway. It's the only one in there. It's fine. Anyway. We'll do some more of these as we get closer to... We're going to have a lot more information. We're going to have a lot more cool stuff. I'm hoping... Very confident. I'm pretty confident about this. Not very confident. I shouldn't say that. Pretty confident that we are going to have the Kickstarter page wrapped up maybe a week or 2 after GenCon. So... Well, we would almost have to, right? Because we're launching on the 15th. Shortly after, not a week or 2, like shortly after GenCon, we're going to have that page wrapped up. I'm hoping to be able to just share the Kickstarter page with people so they can look and go, oh my goodness, I want those things. And look, it's all done, and this is all the information. I'm also hoping to be able to put out a thing on the pledge levels for early backers. So we're gonna have all the cool, cheaper options for people that back early. We want this to move quick. You know, we want to have a lot of momentum behind it in the beginning because that's how Kickstarter works, and because that's gonna help us reach those higher tier goals. Because I want to hit everything on that list I just showed you, even though those aren't core to the book. They aren't, because we have other things in the book, and ultimately, like, we want to make sure this thing gets made. So even if we can't include prestige classes, we can still make the book we want to make, you know. But for me personally, I want everything in there. You know, I want the other 100 things that you haven't seen on this list. I want all that stuff in the book and more. So I'm excited to get this thing moving. So we're gonna have all sorts of like cheaper, better pledge levels for people that back early. So there's gonna be special pledge levels for the first 24 hours. We're gonna make sure everyone knows about those ahead of time. So once those are 100% and ready to go, you're gonna be able to see them. Unfortunately, you can't see them on the Kickstarter page when that's ready, because like they're timed. So since it's not during the time period that they'd be available, you wouldn't be able to see them. But we will have a special thing to go out. So sign up for a newsletter if you're not already, so you can get that information when it happens. And I'm gonna head out because now it's been over an hour that I've been sitting here talking, and that's everything I wanted to talk about. That's those are our stretch goals. Going to GenCon, gonna have a great time. If you have any questions, hit us up on our website. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter. All the links are below, and they're also written above. So, however you want to get in touch with us, get in touch with us, and we'll be back soon. Have a good one. Bye. I have screwed up the transition once again. I'm not a professional streamer. Bye.
In a writer, I'm looking for somebody who brings everything to the table. Who brings art, who brings their vision, and particularly who bring their brain to the table, so that they're aware of what they're doing and they're making conscious choices.